discuss how to attempt MCQs for UGC exam. We would be talking about the UGC June 2014 examination. In this, we will be discussing on how to prepare for UGC. So before preparing for UGC, we must be knowing about the examination pattern. So the very first line talks about the various sections of the exam and how to prepare for it. The first section, which is compulsory for all the students, consists of 100 marks. There are 60 questions that are asked in the exam. Of that, 50 questions need to be attempted. Indeed, this is a very scoring section because in this section you have 50 questions that are to be attempted in 1 hours and 15 minutes. So for one question you get 1.5 minutes. So that is a pretty decent amount of time. Now, then you have the paper 2 and 3 that is meant for your optional subjects. So paper 2, you have 50 questions that are compulsory, and paper 3, you have 75 questions that are compulsory. All the three papers have questions of 2 marks each, and there is no negative marking in the paper. Most of the students are afraid on how to attempt an MCQ question. So here is some guidelines to help you understand how to attempt MCQ questions. For attempting MCQ questions, especially for paper 3, a lot of applicative and conceptual based questions are asked. So all your study must be focused on the basic concepts, and you must be able to apply the concept that you have understood in a very simple fashion. The aim these days in UGC is to find out minute details, focus on research aptitude, because they consider that as a scholar you would be pursuing your PhD and you will be continuing your research. So you must be very thorough with your research strategies. So last time in December 2013, there were 7 to 8 questions on research aptitude and 4 questions on teaching aptitude. That makes it a significant contribution. So teaching and research is being a main section in paper 1 that you need to focus on. It's best to understand and memorize list by list or tables are another source of helping you to understand. You can use mnemonics to memorize things. You can put out screenshots and posters on your table or your wall to help you understand the major points and memorize them as in when you pass by. Then you need to practice ample amount of questions. Practice, practice, and practice. That's the key. Speed and accuracy is important. Speed is not that important for paper 1 because in paper 1, for every question you get almost 1.5 minutes for one question. So that is more or less sufficient, except for the case of data interpretation questions and fundamental mathematics or quantitative ability that you might run short of time. Otherwise, you have ample time for paper 1. But yes, for paper 2 and 3, you need to maintain your speed and you need to maintain accuracy. Silly mistake can let lose 2 marks per question. So avoid silly mistakes. Now, the main thing I would be focusing here is how to answer or attempt an MCQ questions. When we talk about attempting an MCQ question, it's very important that we develop the skill of elimination. Elimination means how to differentiate good answers and bad answers. So if you are having 4 choices in a question, then you must be able to scrutinize which choice is most applicable and which choice is least applicable. Learning by mnemonics and acronyms. For example, I have mentioned an acronym known as WIPCURE here. WIPCURE is an acronym for the colors of rainbow. It's violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. So it's a simple fashion to understand the series of colors that you can see in a rainbow. Similarly, by means of acronyms and mnemonics, you can understand and memorize a lot of concepts. Knowing about major contributors in the field of education and in your optional subject is very important. A lot of questions are asked about renowned personalities and their major contribution. Now you must have at least 8 to 10 minutes left for final revision while you are appearing for your exam. So consider you have the paper for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Try to finish out the paper in 1 hour and leave those 15 minutes for final revision. That will help you scrutinize the questions that you have either left out or you are doubtful about. Sometimes there are questions that require a lot of calculations, like questions on data interpretation, which are mainly tables. Like for the last year, June 2013, there was a question on travel, table on how many foreigners visit the country. So such kind of tables need to be analyzed with detailed calculations. So those calculations take a lot of your time. So it's important that you leave last minute for revision and final calculations that would lead you through the exam. And finally, have a positive attitude about yourself. Develop a lot of breathing and yoga exercises. Before you attempt your exam, you must know your strengths and weaknesses. Now, how is it this possible? You can make this possible by practicing lot of questions. So when you keep on practicing, you know, I'm good in teaching aptitude. Oh, I'm bad in data interpretation. So once you try to solve out MCQs, you get to know your strengths and weaknesses. What is important is that you focus on your weaknesses, try to sort out those areas in which you are weak, and practice more and more on your weak areas. Because the areas you are already strong in, you will fetch good marks, but if you leave out the areas you are weak in, you are sure to lose marks. In case you do a practice on those areas, you might achieve 20 to 30% extra marks. I usually tell students MCQ is similar to a drive test. How? MCQ, you have an exam pattern. Similarly, in drive test, you must know general introduction about the vehicle. In MCQ, you can speed up and slow down. Similarly, in a drive test, you must know the navigation skills. What does this mean? While attempting your examination paper, consider you are giving a drive test, not an MCQ exam. Most students I have heard of are afraid of multiple choice questions. Just to take out your fear from multiple choice questions, consider that you are appearing for a drive test rather than an MCQ exam, where you must have a general knowledge about your subject. You must be familiar with the examination pattern. You must know in which questions I should go fast, in which questions I should go slow. The questions you feel are tough or you don't know those questions, it's best to skip those questions and write down the number somewhere so that you save your time, and at the end, when you are left with time, you can refer that number back. Oh, I left the question 39. I should move back to question 39 and see if I can solve it. Especially for fundamental mathematics and data interpretation, you have a lot of tricky questions or questions that require a lot of calculations. So it's best to use either Vedic maths or develop skills for faster calculations. That comes only through practice or through specific tricks if you know those. Okay, and all the questions, for all the questions, it's very important that you follow the instructions very carefully. Just read the question nicely. Sometimes the student miss the language of the questions. Which of the following is correct? Except. The word except becomes very important in an MCQ, because if you leave that word except, you are about to answer that question incorrectly. Okay, so focus on the main words in that question. Now, when I talk about how to answer questions, I usually follow two strategies. One is the forward method and another is the backward method. In forward method, I usually tell students to read the choice. For example, here is a question: who is the Prime Minister of India? Okay, I tell the students not to see the choices, just see the question. And if you know the answer, just think about that answer. Okay, Narendra Modi. So you now know the answer, and the best thing is you can take that answer. So that is known as the forward guessing. This is one method of solving the question. If you are very thorough with your subject, the best method is to go for forward method. The forward method When you see the choice, most of the students get confused. Okay, this can be a probable answer. I guess this can also be one of the answers. So you should not go with the choices. The best way is to hide the choice and listen to and read the question. And once you read the question, you will get to know the answer. Okay, so this is the forward method. In backward method, you must apply in the questions where you are doubtful about the questions. So in case you are doubtful about the questions, who is the Prime Minister of India? Okay, I feel Nawaz Sharif cannot be the Prime Minister of India because he is from Pakistan. Okay, next question. Next choice, Sonia Gandhi. I feel Sonia Gandhi is the leader of opposition. I haven't heard ever that she was meant for the post of Prime Minister in the recent 1 or 2 years. So you cross out Sonia Gandhi. Now you are doubtful about the two choices. Yeah, Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister till now, and Narendra Modi is to be the former Prime Minister or to be the new Prime Minister. So I am confused whether Narendra Modi has been elected or is yet to be elected. Okay, so if you have choices in such cases, you are left with only two choices where you have doubt. If you were to put a blind guess, you would have marked C, D, anything. But now you will either mark A or you will mark B. So that would reduce your choice of being incorrect by 50%. So you have an extra benefit or an extra edge to attempt a question in which you are doubtful. So in all the questions you are doubtful, attempt a backward method, see the choices, exclude the choices or eliminate the choices which are wrong, and then move forward. The next method is forward method, where you just look at the question. Okay, you just follow the question and you do not see the choice. When you do not see the choice, you already know the answer for that question, and once you speak out the answer, you are likely to choose out the most correct response from that option. Now next, when we move on to how to solve the questions with either forward method or backward method, the most important thing is guessing. It's very important. A lot of students try to do blind guess. So avoid doing a blind guess. I'll give you a simple example and a table that demonstrates the effect of guessing blind. If there are two questions which have 4 choices each and you are doing a blind guess, what is likely to be the result? In 2 questions, if you have done a blind guess, only there is 1 out of a 16 chance that your question or your answer that you have marked would be correct. In the other case, when you have marked 25 questions randomly, you don't know the answers for 25 questions and you have marked those, there is only 1 out of 9,42,000 chance that your answer would be correct. That means guessing blind does not make any sense. So it's very important, even if you want to guess, make an educated guess. Now, how can you make an educated guess? In the response, if it is mentioned usually or probably, usually or probably is much more likely to be correct as compared to word always or never. That means the words that depict conditionality are more likely to be correct as compared to words that are absolute in meaning. Funny responses are usually incorrect. If there is option between all of the above or none of the above, it's usually that all of the above is most likely to be correct as compared to none of the above. Then you have verbal associations. For example, there is a keyword in the question that is being repeated in the choice. So it's very important to pick up verbal associations in those cases. Few other things that would help you in the exam is the length of response. For example, there is a question, and of the four choices, choice C suppose or looks like to be unusually bigger. Okay, that means in that choice, examiner is trying to explain the answer to the question. So it is higher probability that based on the length of response, the question or the answer you are giving is likely to be correct if the response is longer or bigger. Because in such cases, examiner tries to explain that concept. However, this might not always be true. The most cases where you have to put guess, it's best to find out grammatical matches. Now, how can you find out grammatical matches? For example, which of the following is a major river in India and is originating from? If this is the question, in this question, can you find out a grammatical match? We can definitely find out grammatical match by means of the sentence that is being completed. Since I am talking about the longest river in India, my answer might start with Ganga is one of the longest river, or my choice can start with Brahmaputra might be a long river. So in that cases, I am trying to match out phrases grammatically. Okay, if the question is ending with the word and, it's most likely that the beginning word in the response must be a vowel. If I am ending the question with the word a and, the choice would start with a vowel. That is one kind of grammatical match. Then, as I said, the question on Ganga, you are trying to match singular phrase with a singular phrase. Okay, if in the question it is asked which is the longest river, I cannot say Ganga and Brahmaputra are the longest river because the question is meant for a single river. Okay, next is when you are trying to answer, you must feel that when you join the answer to the stem or the question, you feel that that is complete in itself. If after joining the answer, the stem or the question does not complete, that means there is some grammatical loophole or the choice is incorrect. You can feel that the choice is correct only when there is a complete grammatical match. These are the techniques that you must apply when you are doubtful about the question. In case you know the answer, it's best to go either through the method of elimination or backward method or the forward method that we have already discussed. Now, twin choices. Twin choices means there are four choices. I am sure that choice 1 is not the answer. I am doubtful about choice 2 and choice 3. Okay, and the fourth choice is all of the above. That means in that case, out of B, C, and D, anything can be answered because I am doubtful either both of them are true, one of them are true, I am not sure. Okay, so in these cases, you must be considering all of the above also as one of the statements. So rather than eliminating by two choices, you are eliminating only by one choice and you are confused between three choices. In such cases, when you are doubtful that all of the above can be the answer, it's most likely all of the above will not be the answer in this case because you are sure that choice A is incorrect. Okay. In case you are sure that one of the choices is incorrect, all of the above is meant to be incorrect because that cannot be the answer since one is incorrect. So you are left with two choices. Now you have to find out between the two choices which is correct. So in 10 choices cases, it's very important that if you are very particular that one choice is incorrect, all of the above is ought to be incorrect. But if you are doubtful that one of the choices is correct or not, then you will be doubtful about all of the above also. So these are very dicey questions that you must read and understand very nicely. As I said, some of the phrases that you must read in the question are except, not, never, and always. If you are doubtful or confused about something, refer the units, constants, and values. For example, there is a question on fundamental mathematics, and the question goes in minutes. Okay. Now the choices are in seconds. So it's very important that you convert minutes to seconds, because if you do not convert them to seconds, you might answer them incorrectly. For example, if you are solving that question and the answer is 1.5 minutes, okay, that technically means 90 seconds. So in the choices you can have 1.5 second. So you must be confused there. You see just 1.5 and you take that as an answer. You forget to see the units. Okay, so in that cases, units is very important. I'll give you a demonstration for this question. So here, if you are getting an answer 1.5 minutes for any question that you have solved, the answer in MCQs can be 90 second, 60 second, 1 second, and 1.5 second. Now what happens is you calculated and you just remember 1.5. Some of the students will haphazardly mark 1.5 second as the correct answer because they skip the unit. Now that is very important to read the question properly. So here you want to convert minutes to seconds. So 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. So multiplying it by 60, you will get 90 seconds as an answer. So it's very important that you see the units or any constants that are mentioned at the end. These are kind of silly mistakes that most of the students go for, and if you do a single silly mistake, you lose 2 marks straightforward. Besides this, what is important is, do not ignore paper 1. Paper 1, you have 50 questions, 5 questions from data interpretations, 5 questions from reading comprehensions. You must do at least 20 questions correct to clear paper 1 in order that your paper 2 and 3 copies are being checked. So at least out of the 50 questions that you are attempting, 20 should be correct. Now, previously, paper 1 marks were not added for UGC exam. Nowadays, paper 1 marks are being added for UGC exam. So what is important is, you score very good marks in paper 1. So even if you are scoring less marks in paper 2 and 3, there is a probability that you will clear the exam just because you have done well with paper 1. We'll be talking more about paper 1 in the next session, where we would be discussing the trends in the previous year papers for paper 1, and we'll be trying to find out methods how to solve and focus on what areas in paper 1. Now coming back onto attempting the MCQs, it's very important to understand the examiner's perspective. What examiners try to do? Examiner technically tries to separate wheat from the husk. Okay, that means the examiner is trying to distinguish between the students who are prepared very nicely and the students who are just appearing because their parents have asked them to appear for the exam. So it's very important to be the wheat, not the husk. Okay, to be the wheat, you need to read the choices properly, not to be misled by the question. Try to understand the phrases very, very carefully. Follow a forward method on the questions that you are confident with. In the questions that you are not confident with, you can follow backward method. But a forward method would lead to least errors because you are confident what is the answer, and by seeing the choices you are not getting confused. So following a forward method, as I said, is very important for the questions you are nicely prepared with, and backward questions only in case where you are confused between alternatives or you are not pretty sure about what should be the answer. Now, the most important thing is boosting your confidence. How can you boost your confidence? during the examination. Boosting the confidence during the examination is very essential because before examination, okay, you have practiced a lot of questions, you are sure that you would be doing good. But during examination, if you start attempting and you feel first and second and third questions, oh my God, they are out of control, I can't understand what is the question is. What happens is your confidence level goes down, and slowly and gradually the next few questions that you would be attempting, even if you are knowing those questions, you won't be pretty sure about it. So how to boost confidence during the examination? During the examination, the best thing is to attempt first the questions that you know, leave the questions that you have never read of or you have never heard of. This will save your time. This will increase your positivity. If you are trying to solve a difficult question after 15 questions that you have done correctly, what would happen is you would be very enthusiastic. Oh, I have done a lot of good questions. Even if I do get this question wrong, it won't matter because I am doing pretty good in this paper. So it's important to recharge your positivity, increase your efficiency, increase your speed. That happens only when you are confident during the paper. If you are struck up with calculations or with some confusing questions, you won't be performing good. So boosting your confidence during examination is very essential. And how can you boost it is by attempting the questions that you know very well, leaving out the questions that require calculations or that require extra effort. When you are leaving any question, make sure that you write down somewhere on the paper the number of questions that you have left. That would save your time when you are flipping back onto the paper. While practicing for the last few days that are left for the examination, what is important is do a spaced practice. Just don't put a pressure in the mind that, okay, after 5 days I have an exam, so I have to sit for 10 hours and study continuously. That won't make any sense. The best method is to do a spaced practice. What does a spaced practice means? Spaced practice means rather than sitting for 6 hours or 10 hours at a stretch, it's better to sit for 1 hour, take a break for 15 minutes, then come back and revise next topic. So keep flipping about the topics, keep taking small breaks. That would help you provide better attention and much stronger memory. Skipping the questions that you are confused about or you are doubtful about is the best strategy, but follow a logical order by skipping. So start with question 1. If you want to skip questions, you can skip 1, 3 and 5. Okay, but don't read the whole question paper first. Attempt question 2, then question 40, then question 39, then question 24. And when you skip in the order 1, then 24, then 12, then 3. That will waste a lot of time when you are coming back on those questions. If they are in a logical order, okay, I have left question 1, 5, 9 and 12, then it would be much more easier for me to solve those questions that I have skipped. So even if you are skipping, try to follow a logical order which would help save your time. And finally, a lot of students usually ask, can I change my first response that I have appeared for? Usually, students say that when you are switching from one response to another, the studies have quoted that in 51% of the time, you are moving from a wrong response to a correct response. And how does that happen? Supposedly, you have attempted question 1 and you have marked that question incorrectly. Now you go to question 8, and there is a similar concept that is from question 1, but while attempting question 8, you are pretty sure what is the answer. So what happens is, now you are confident about your answer, and since you are confident about your answer, you would be going back to question 1 and moving that wrong question to a correct answer. Okay, so that is the best method of attempting the question. So what researchers have quoted from the 1561 studies that they have done is, usually if you move from first correct response to a next correct response, 51% of the time you are going to a right response. 25% of the time you move from a right to a wrong concept because you get confused. And 23% of the time you move from wrong to another wrong answer because you are totally confused. Okay, so first tells about you are getting a right response because you have referred to something in the question paper that has led to clarification of your concept. Pattern 2 talks about getting a bit confused, and pattern 3 talks about getting a total confusion. So it is suggested that if you are doubtful that I mark this and after some time you feel, oh no, this should not be answer, there should be some other answer, you can switch the answer. Higher probability is that you will be moving to a right answer. But again, as I said, there are chances that you might move to another wrong response. So this is some of the doubts that a student usually have while appearing for the paper. Will I appear, if I want to change the response, will I change the response to a wrong response or a right response? So this is what a research study goes about. So in this presentation, I have tried to familiarize the students with how to prepare with MCQs, like last minute strategies, how to appear for the examination, and how to attempt the MCQs with getting most positive results and least negative results. Hope this this presentation was useful for you, and stay tuned for us for the next presentation where we will be discussing about the previous year analysis for paper 1 from 2013 to 2010 or 2011, and we will be comparing the trends and how the paper pattern has changed or which things are being repeated constantly. Thanks a lot. Have a good day ahead.